Snakes aren't bad, snakes are good. We should learn more about them, we really should. A little understanding is all it takes. Come on, people, give the snake a break. Snakes don't mean to frighten you. Snakes have more important things to do. And maybe we could learn to appreciate and see the joy of snakes. Wow, look at that. My goodness. Isn't that a beautiful snake? Come here, fella, let me look at you. I'm not going to hurt you. You're okay. Wow, ain't you a beauty? You know, the animal in my hands is probably our most misunderstood, most misrepresented, and most mistreated wild animal neighbor, the snake. For some folks, the mere sight of a snake can cause a panic. Sure, this is a snake, but it's not a dangerous one. It's a harmless red rat snake. We call it that because its color is red, and it eats rats, not people. My name is Okefenokee Joe, and I am a firm believer that all of us deserve to know more about our snakes than just to be afraid of them. I left the city a long time ago for reasons I don't need to disclose. And I won't make excuses for the way I appear or the laid-back life I have chose. I don't bother nobody, I just like living free, free as the wind in the trees. In the Okefenokee, I can be as I please. The swamp is home to me, and I'm swamp wise. I can kill a black bear with my hunting knife, catch a cottonmouth moccasin before it can strike. Cross me and you'd better run for your life. I'm swamp wise. Swamp wise. When I was a kid, my mommy and daddy probably thought I was crazy because I was always into all kinds of things like snakes and toads and things. And I remember one time I was holding a king snake, and it was crawling around me, got up over my shoulders and got around my back, and it started to bite me in the neck. And my mother saw that, and she thought it was kissing me. She said, "Oh, isn't that sweet?" And that was the first snake I was allowed to bring in the house after that. I never did tell her any different.
Look who's coming down the street. Big brown eyes and smile so sweet. Uh-oh, trouble back in town.
Once upon a time, I tried to make a living playing music. I had my own group. We traveled all over the world. And we played mostly military bases. I called myself a poor man's Bob Hope. We traveled all over the world doing that. Never made any hit records, never got famous or anything. But the worst thing that happened was I never made any money.
Who's hungry? Huh?
I was looking for something else to do. And I wanted that something else to be working with animals. I had stopped at the Okefenokee Swamp Park. The fellow that manages that park is an old friend of mine. Just in passing, he said, "We'd give you a job here for something like $60 a week or something like that." It's a low budget thing. I kept that in the back of my head for some reason. I was in the cane fields in South Florida hunting snakes one day about 4 months later, and nothing was working out in the Everglades. And I said, "What do you mean I can't take a job for $60 a week?" Swampy the dog, Skeeter the cat, and me, living in the swamp, loving every minute, just being free. Okefenokee, Georgia, population 3. Swampy the dog, Skeeter the cat, and me. I would imagine that most people who live in today's world would find the swamp an interesting place to visit, but they wouldn't want to live there. But I always was interested in the great outdoors. I loved the smell of a wood fire, the sound of the birds and the insects, and so forth. And life to me in the swamp was beautiful. I was with it. I was right there in the middle of what Mother Nature does. And it was beautiful. I had 24 hours a day if I wanted it, to study and to work with and to observe the deer, the bear, the gators, whatever. It was beautiful. A golden opportunity to learn about the wild animals, the whys and wherefores, what they really do. Okefenokee, Georgia, population 3. Swampy the dog, Skeeter the cat, and me. All snakes, just like all wildlife, should be respected. The venomous snakes especially, not just respected, but avoided. A person doesn't have to go near a snake unless the person wants the snake. And why would anybody want a snake except people like me that work with them? The safest thing to do with a snake is leave it be. As far as identifying the dangerous, it's pretty easy. I think the easiest way is to memorize the ones that are. There's only 4. The copperheads, rattlesnakes, water moccasins, coral snakes. They're not that hard to identify, not in this country. There's various reasons why people should know more about snakes. First of all, for peace of mind. For one, so many people are terrified of them. And yet if they just knew just a little bit about them, maybe a person would feel better about snakes. There's other reasons. They are important to the ecosystem, to even environmentally they're important. They can help us control some diseases in some ways. Another reason very possibly could be here in the state of Georgia, since 1978, every non-poisonous snake that lives in Georgia, indigenous to this state, is protected by law. Did you know you could be fined up to $1,000 for killing a black snake? It doesn't stop there. $1,000 and/or 1 year in prison. That's a state law. There's reasons why people should know more about them. I'd say those are pretty good reasons. Each snake has got different habits, and when we look for the snake, we have to also look at what time of the day we're looking, and even in some cases the phase of the moon. The moon has a lot to do with their movements. And of course the weather, if they're going to be laying out, it's going to have to be warm enough. It can't be too warm, and it can't be too cold, because either extreme the snake's going to head for cover. Eastern diamondback rattlesnake, if you get up above 85 degrees during the daytime, most diamondbacks are going to be back under the ground somewhere. Even in a shaded spot, they wouldn't be comfortable. Most of them will go underground. So it's different, you know, just like different strokes for different folks, there's different shakes for different snakes. The first thing anyone should do if he's going to be in the woods anyhow is to have a pair of boots on. We don't necessarily need snake boots. The people that need snake boots, the ones the snakes can't bite through, are the people that don't have time to look out for snakes, like deer hunters, squirrel hunters. People who are looking up in the trees instead of on the ground where they're stepping. If you stepped on a diamondback by mistake, there's no way that snake could know you made a mistake. We don't carry anti-venom or anything like that, snake bite kits, because again, the best thing to do if bitten is get to a hospital. You might be allergic to the anti-venom. You don't want to take chances like that. But of course, we try not to get bitten. Because of its immense size, most of our eastern diamondback rattlesnakes are very much restricted in
in their suitable habitat where they could spend the winter, for example. They'll use whatever cover is available, rodent burrows. But when a rattlesnake gets to be fairly large, there's very few holes that are large enough for the rattlesnake. So quite often it'll seek an area like this, the sand hill, where the gopher tortoise abounds. And it'll utilize a gopher tortoise burrow for its winter quarters. Now the gopher, throughout the winter time, just like the rattlesnake, they're cold-blooded, and throughout the winter time, on warm days, the gopher is subject to move up and down in his burrow, might even come outside for a little while. The rattlesnake might do the same thing. And the gopher tortoise kind of acts like a door, and the door can move up and down throughout the winter time. The gopher tortoise plays a very important role in the sandhill community. There's many animals that use its burrow for cover. We've seen evidence of raccoons, possums, skunks, even bobcats using gopher burrows for cover, even some birds, and of course, eastern diamondback rattlesnakes. The gopher is very important. In any given area, we never know exactly how many snakes we're going to find. When we search the rodent burrows or the gopher tortoise burrows like this, we look in each one, and if there is a rattlesnake in there, it's not always up close where we can see it, so we never know how many snakes we're going to find. The little hand mirror takes the place of a flashlight. It used to be we'd kneel down and look in the hole with a flashlight. But with a hand mirror, we don't have to even bend down very far. We can catch part of the sun and flash it into the hole. And if there's a rattlesnake up close enough to where we can grab it, we'll be able to see it.
Another one over here. Nothing in here. Okay. Let's mark it here. Okay. Here's one.
We use a snake hook because, you know, you don't want to grab a rattlesnake with your bare hands. Only a fool would do that. We use the hook to pull a snake out of a hole. We use it to move the snake wherever we want it to move to. We use the hook to pin its head down so that it can't bite, so that we can pick it up safely and put it in a bag. Snake hook's a very important tool of the trade. I call the eastern diamondback rattlesnake Mr. Magnificent. If it's in strange territory and not sure it can escape, it usually will choose to coil and face its adversary no matter what it is. Not many animals do that. The first thing it's going to do is try to escape if it knows where the nearest hole is. But if it doesn't know where the nearest hole is, quite often a diamondback is going to stop right in its tracks, right where it is, and coil up and face you as you come by. It's not always going to rattle. The only time you're going to hear one rattle is, well, first of all, it's got to be wide awake. Secondly, it realizes danger is near. And third, it's not sure it can escape. And a lot of people will say they always warn you, but I wouldn't bet on it. Safest thing to do is watch out for snakes. When it does rear up and start shaking its tail and rattling, it's, for some people, I'm sure, an awesome, fearful sight. But for me, it's a thrill. Everything that lives in the natural scheme of things is important in its own way, whether it be a snake or a butterfly or an ant or a mosquito. Snakes are important to the ecosystems in several ways. They're part of the food chain. They feed upon other animals feed upon them, and they have their niche, they have their importance.
A moment ago, this was a very excited eastern diamondback rattlesnake. It bit right through the bag here. You can see the venom on it there. The easiest way to capture a rattlesnake without hurting it or without it hurting you is to find it, catch it by surprise. This one is wide awake and may be a little difficult to capture safely. Get him out of the bag first and let's see. That's a big one. You got to render the snake totally defenseless by pinning its head down like that so it can't bite. Grasp it behind the head. Grasp it tightly, gently, but firmly. And before you pick it up, get a hold of this part of the body right here. If you don't grab it with your other hand like this, the snake's liable to thrash and put a fang right in your finger. Now, its venom sacs are located on either side of the jawbones back here, back where the jawbones connect. That's what makes its head swell up like that. And when it bites, it can squeeze those venom sacs and shoot a shot of venom through each fang into its victim. Notice what it's doing with its tongue. It doesn't understand what's happening. It's trying to figure out what has got a hold of it. We're going to open its mouth now. I'm just opening his mouth with my knife. I'm not trying to kill him. You see the color of that venom coming out of each fang? Orange, looks like orange juice. If you drank a little bit of that, it probably wouldn't hurt you. But if it's injected intravenously, it can very well kill you. Its venom is primarily hemotoxic, although the eastern diamondback rattlesnake and several other rattlesnakes show certain amounts of neurotoxin in their venom as well. It's a very difficult bite to treat. Those fangs, especially one this size, it's about 5.5 feet long, its fangs are almost an inch long, capable of penetrating almost any boot made. Now, rattlesnakes are not born with rattles on their tails. A baby rattlesnake has an organ on the base of the tail. We refer to it as a button. It grows as the snake does, and at shedding time, it should shed right off, but it's formed in such a way that it fits loosely but neatly into the segment forming behind it. And when the snake sheds its skin, the skin breaks off there, and that button becomes another segment for its string of rattles. And a rattlesnake might shed its skin 4 or 5 times in 1 year, maybe even more often.
The eastern diamondback rattlesnake does most of its moving during the warm weather, during the morning hours before the sun gets directly overhead, usually after the dew has dried on the grass in the morning, which each day that's going to vary somewhat. And it seems to prefer to do its feeding at that time. And it feeds strictly on warm-blooded prey. It'll eat rodents, it'll eat rabbits, squirrels, it'll eat some ground-dwelling birds if it can catch them. They usually surprise the animal in the confines of a rodent burrow, or just take it by surprise. And when they strike it, they don't have to strike very far. But when a rattlesnake tries to defend itself from an animal like a human being, it'll coil, and we call it a defensive coil. And if it strikes, it can usually reach about half the length of its body. I suppose to most human eyes, the sight of a snake eating a bunny rabbit or a squirrel or any other animal is a pretty disgusting sight. All of us should realize, though, that this is the way it works. It's Mother Nature's way. Every animal has to eat just like we have to. Different species of snakes have got different metabolic rates, and some have a voracious appetite. Some can eat their weight in mice every month. An eastern diamondback rattlesnake, for example, one 5 or 6 feet long, could consume probably between 6 and 10 rats a month. Of course, that's its job. And they can swallow animals 4, 5, 6 times the size of their head. And the broader scheme of things out there in the wild, with animals preying upon each other, the snakes play an important role because they do their job in helping to control the number of rodents. This is a yellow rat snake, which is found on low ground. There's several varieties of rat snakes, grays, reds, yellows. They're all beautiful snakes. They all love to climb trees and into other high places, and they do a great job at keeping down the rodent population, which destroys crops. King snakes are one of the few snakes that are not only capable, but they love to vary their diet. A king snake will consume warm-blooded or cold-blooded prey. It'll prey upon other snakes, sometimes even its own kind. It'll prey upon mice, rats. One thing about the king, though, that's remarkable is that if any of our venomous snakes were to bite a king snake, the king snake is immune to the venom. There are a number of other snakes in the country that are that way, too. The king is a very powerful constrictor. It'll grab a rattlesnake and wrap its coils around it so tightly. It doesn't crush its prey. It doesn't break the bones. It suffocates its prey. It squeezes tightly until the animal can't breathe anymore. Usually the king snake will wait until the animal dies before it commences to eat. But as you can see, this one's so hungry, it's starting to eat right away. King snakes are not the only animals that eat other snakes. Anything that eats meat out here in the woods will prey upon a snake, especially a small snake. Hawks, owls, the birds of prey. The snake has no way of seeing them ahead of time as they drop from the sky. Animals like possums, bobcats, all these animals, anything that eats meat will eat a snake. Of course now, as the snake grows, the bigger it gets, the fewer things in the woods that are going to jump on it. I doubt there's many animals in the wilderness that would go after a 6-foot eastern diamondback rattlesnake. Snakes use various methods of defending themselves. One of their favorite methods is to lie still and hopefully go unnoticed. They're masters of camouflage, and many, many wild animals just walk right by them, don't even see them, and don't even smell them. Some of our snakes are really unique in their defense mechanisms, like this hognose snake. When first disturbed, it will rear up and act like a cobra, strike out, not bite, but strike. It's a harmless snake, couldn't hurt anything. And if its act as a cobra doesn't work, then it'll roll over and play dead. And it'll try to stay just as dead as it can, because if we roll it back over again, it'll just roll right back on its back again with its belly up. And then amazingly enough, if it thinks the coast is clear, it'll lift its head up and flicker its tongue and look around a little bit and come back to life and just crawl on as if nothing ever happened. Of course, there's one problem that snakes are just absolutely not equipped to deal with, and that's us. We, the people animals. We're the real predators. Our bulldozers destroying their homes. Of course, this is true for all wild animals. Our pesticides, our insecticides, the chemicals that we use, our automobiles on the highways. After 80-some years of automobiles, our wild animal neighbors still don't know what a car is. And many of them are killed by cars. And of course, humans that hate snakes, the indiscriminate snake killers. When we're out hunting for snakes, very often we'll stop at old home places where nobody lives, because places like that become a haven for mice and rats. and certain species of snakes. Certain rat snakes, for example, like to climb up into the rafters, up in the roofs of old buildings. Sometimes canebrake rattlesnake might be found under a piece of tin near an old home place. It's just a place to stop and look if you're looking for snakes. If you're wondering why we hunt for snakes, very simply, we need them for our lectures. Every place we go, different areas of the state of Georgia, there are a few different species of snakes living, and we need the snakes that live in the area. So usually we're out looking for more snakes, and we use them in our lectures. There have been times when certain plantation owners or managers have requested our services in thinning out, let's say, some of their rattlesnakes. Of course, when we do that, some of those snakes I'll use in my lecture, and some of them will end up in the venom extracting laboratories.
I've got a canebrake over here.
You know, something about snakes. You could scream and you could holler till you're blue in the face and it wouldn't bother a snake. They don't have any ears. They can't hear a thing. Oh, they might feel the vibration in the ground at your approach if they're wide awake. But like this one here, it's sound asleep. And it's so well camouflaged, it's very, very difficult to see when they lie still like this. This is a timber rattlesnake. Up until recently, we referred to it as a canebrake rattlesnake. Its venom is very toxic. It's not a good idea to get close to one and let it bite you. But it's a very timid snake. I've never seen one yet go out of its way to try and hurt anybody. This color variation, which is found throughout the southeastern United States, seems to prefer low ground, an area near a swamp or a creek, like right here. And this is not the type of snake we're looking for right now. We don't need it. We're just going to leave it alone. This is a dusky pygmy rattlesnake. As you can see, it's a pygmy rattlesnake. Its venom is highly toxic, but there's not much of it. I doubt that there's ever been a fatality from a pygmy rattlesnake bite. Its fangs are very short. It's doubtful that they could penetrate the average leather boot. Unlike most rattlesnakes, this one will eat warm-blooded or cold-blooded prey. It'll eat frogs just as easily as it'll eat mice. Just like all of our Native American snakes, this snake is not vicious. It does its best to avoid trouble, especially as something as large as you and me is scared to death of us. It'll try to escape, but believe me, if it's cornered, it will fight back viciously. The cottonmouth prefers to live near water simply because most of its food comes from the water, and it is water is part of its protective cover. In other words, it likes to eat fish, frogs, aquatic animals, and every now and then, though, it'll venture out somewhere, maybe hunting a mouse or whatever. We've found them sometimes pretty far from water, but its normal surroundings will be near the water.
There's a cottonmouth. I think he's seen us.
Good sight, Noddy. Let's see if we can get him to work for us. See if we can make him act.
Right now, it's assuming an attitude of total defense, but most people consider it aggressive. all it really wants is to be left alone. You notice if I nudge it, it'll open its mouth wider, it'll shake its tail. And almost every snake in this country, when it's frightened, it'll vibrate its tail. If you're wondering why it's not trying to escape, after 40-some years of working with them, I've decided that if the animal is not sure it can escape, it won't try. It'll stay right where it is. And again, this is why some folks call it aggressive. But as you can see, it's not trying to attack anyone. It's just trying to defend itself. It's so frightened. And why shouldn't it be? That snake doesn't even know what I am. But it does know I'm too big to eat. And you know, immediately that means that I'm big enough to eat it, and it's afraid. We're just gonna let it go. We don't need you, okay? Bye.
I will call my water moccasin Pussycat. Now, there's a reason why I call her Pussycat. It's not just a cute name. Throughout the years of working with snakes, you know, we learn a lot about them and their attitude and behavior towards humans. And a water moccasin, I've never seen one yet that would not adapt to captivity and become docile, eat regular, and become as gentle as a pussycat. Most of my cottonmouths, when it comes cage cleaning time, I'll never use my bare hands to handle a poisonous snake. I can lift my cottonmouth, the one I use in the lecture, lift it up out of the cage that it's in and put it up somewhere on the shelf or whatever, right close by, and clean out its cage with it laying there just looking at me. Get the cage all clean, put the snake back in, no muss, no fuss. They do become as gentle as a pussycat. Cottonmouths come in many different color phases. Some of them are nearly black, some are brown, some are an olive color. This one here is a brown phase, and it looks gravid. See how heavy it is towards the rear? It's probably carrying young. Since she's right by the water, maybe she'll swim for us. Yeah, there she goes. See the way she swims with her head up above the water? That's typical of a cottonmouth.
There's a water snake over there.
Yeah, I'm going to step on him. I'm not going to step on him hard. Just going to hold him where he is for the time being. See how he can flatten himself out and make himself look like a moccasin? A lot of people would mistake that for a water moccasin or a cottonmouth. Oh, he doesn't have fangs and poison. He's not dangerous. He's got long, sharp teeth to hold frogs with. That's what he eats. And now I'm going to put this bag over his head so he can't see my hand. I'll reach down and pick him up if I can. Well, he bit the bag, didn't he? Okay, well, you got a hold of that bag. While you're busy, let me get a hold of your head. Now, if I pick the snake up and I'm not looking so large to it anymore, standing, looming over it like that, it might let itself become normal again. In other words, it's not so flat anymore. You see that? It's just when they're frightened that they flatten out, and they do look like a venomous snake when they do that. Its eyes are blue, which means it's going to be shedding its skin very shortly. And of course, this snake right here is not what we've been hunting for right now. We're just going to turn it loose. You want to go crawl off and just go out there and be a snake? Go ahead. Go back in the water. That's a red-bellied water snake. Harmless.
It's rather interesting the way snakes move without arms and legs and hands and feet. It's pretty difficult for most folks to understand, I guess. They crawl by catching their belly shoots, the scales on the belly, the wide ones that go across the belly. They crawl by catching those belly shoots on the rough surfaces on the ground. Each of those belly shoots is attached to a muscle and to the rib cage. Very often a snake can crawl in pretty much a straight line if it's not in a hurry. Pretty neat the way they can move. I love to see them moving. I think it's beautiful.
Snakes shed their skin periodically throughout the year, not just during dog days. And while they're shedding, they're not blind. Their vision may be partially impaired, but they're certainly not blind. They can see movement. The first thing that we notice with our captive specimens, the ones that we see every day, is that they become listless. The snake's eyes will start to turn color, either a milky gray or blue. You ever seen a blue-eyed snake? When their eyes turn a color like that, it means they're going to shortly be shedding their skin. A day or two before the skin is ready to come off, those eyes will clear up. And when it's time, the snake will start rubbing its upper and its lower jaw on whatever it can find to rub it on, sometimes even its own body. It peels the skin off of its lips and back up over its head, and then it crawls out of that skin, turning it inside out in the process. And the skin is just left lying there, and the snake crawls on, just like this red rat snake.
Quite often when we're hunting snakes, we'll lift logs like this, see if there's anything under there. And in rotten logs like this, every now and then you might find a snake inside the log, or possibly snake eggs, which is what we have just found here. Yeah, these are snake eggs. I'll lay one up there for the time being. They're small. Some snake eggs are shaped almost like chicken eggs, and some are shaped like this. These look like probably coral snake eggs. Look like the female laid 6 of them. You know, the female snake doesn't hang around to take care of the eggs like a female chicken does. A mother hen, there is no such thing as a mother snake. Like the mother hen will set on her eggs until they hatch. She'll incubate them. The snake just lays its eggs anywhere they feel that the eggs will be safe. And a mother hen, when the eggs do hatch, a mother hen will take care of the babies for quite a while. Whereas with snakes, there's no such thing as a mother snake. When these eggs hatch, the female, as you can see right now, is long gone. The snakes are on their own from the minute they're born. And that's just how it works with snakes. Put these eggs back in here and put them back in there right and cover them back up. They just might hatch. You know, the eggs have a lot of enemies. Everything that eats meat out here in the woods eats snakes and snake eggs. Well, let's hope they hatch. Okay? It's a rare thing to see snakes mating out in the wild. They're pretty secretive. We see it regular in captivity, but not out in the wild. And some of the snakes in this country lay eggs, some bear their young alive. All of our pit vipers, the rattlesnakes, the water moccasins, the copperheads bear their young alive. And a word of caution, when they're first born, they're just as deadly as the big ones. Baby cottonmouths don't resemble their parents. Baby cottonmouths look more like copperheads, and often they're misidentified because of that. The cottonmouth and the copperhead are both in the same family, and when they're first born, they look very much alike. They both have sulfur yellow tails. Well, it's getting late. Let's go home, honey. Waking up to the sound of a rooster crow, breathing fresh air as I step out the door, washing my face in water from the well. Lord, ain't the feeling swell? Bacon and eggs frying in the pan, my woman's in the kitchen pleasing her man.
I look out the window at my crop in the field and say another prayer for the yield. Lord, I love this land, and I know you understand how sweet life on this earth can be. I love my country ways, I will till my dying day, and I'm happy just as long as I am free. Every farmer in South Georgia will know how this feels. Out here baking in the Georgia sun, my tractor broke down trying to make it run. 5 more acres of corn left to hill. If I don't get it, them Georgia weeds will. Possum out there in the chicken yard, he comes around every night after dark. Out there scratching for another free meal. My .22 rifle gonna make him squeal. Lord, I love this land, and I know you understand how sweet life on this earth can be. I'm a peaceful man, but I'll fight back where I can, and I'm happy just as long as I am free. When the brown mare foaled, we were by her side. I saw the look of wonder in my little boy's eyes. I smiled at my son and winked at my wife. He's learning the meaning of life. And late last winter when my neighbor died, I sat up all night with his family and cried. They knew they could count on my help in the spring. For me, he'd have done the same thing. Lord, I love this land, and I know you understand how sweet life on this earth can be. I love my country ways, I will till my dying day, and I'm happy just as long as I am free. Yes, I'm happy just as long as I am free. When we're getting the snakes ready for a trip, you know, it depends on where we're going as to what snakes we're going to carry, because my whole purpose is to familiarize people with the types of snakes that live in their area. And of course, the snakes themselves teach the kids some of the most important lessons. For example, there is not a snake that I have ever met in this country that will attack a human being. Snakes don't want anything to do with us, and even an eastern diamondback rattlesnake will show people that fact. It seems like quite a few grown-ups have got their minds made up about snakes. And in a lot of cases, I think they learned to be afraid of them. And I really feel that if kids are shown snakes in the proper concept, as they grow into adults, they'll have a much healthier attitude about all forms of wildlife.
I would hope that everybody in Georgia would be able to recognize this guy. Who said king snake? Right. Good. It's good that we know what a king snake looks like. Now we're going to use this king snake to demonstrate a safe, easy to remember method from a distance of identifying a water moccasin. See how long and skinny the snake is? All of the snakes that live around here that are worth saving, the ones that are really doing favors for us and the ones that are harmless, posing no threat whatsoever to us, the ones that eat mice and rats, the ones that eat poisonous snakes like this king snake, all of them are long and skinny, and from a distance we can see they are not fat snakes. Wait till you see this water moccasin. That is a typical Georgia cottonmouth. Well, This is the one that lives near the water. It doesn't live in the water, by the way. It doesn't live in the muck on the bottom of a creek or a pond. It lives on land. It just likes to live near water because its favorite food is fish. That's the only place it can get the fish. Can't go to the grocery store like you and me. This king snake that we have here is longer than that water moccasin, but it's not as big around, is it? And I can't let the king snake get close to the moccasin because it's liable to attack it. It may be hungry, so I'm going to keep it over here. But you can see the difference, can't you? The water moccasin has got a heavy body. It's got a narrow neck, a large, flat, diamond-shaped head. These are all things you can see from a long ways off. Heavy body, narrow neck, large, flat, diamond-shaped head. Add those three characteristics together on one snake, and it spells the letters P-O-I-S-O-N. What's that spell? Boy back there scratching his head. Poison. Now I got a question.
For years and years and years, I was able to tell people that I'd never been bitten by a poisonous snake. For years and years, I was able to tell people I'm a living proof that what I'm teaching about these animals is the truth. I've never been bitten. Just a year ago, I made a mistake. It was all my fault. I had captured a cottonmouth and several others, had them in cloth bags carrying them. You know, when you're carrying a poisonous snake, a venomous one, in a bag like that, you have to hold them out so they don't touch your body anywhere and might bite through the bag. It gets kind of heavy when you're doing that, and I just put the bags in the car and walked on. An hour or two later, I came back with another load, put them in, and jumped in the car, and forgot that I'd put those other bags in there. Put my hand down on top of one, which sometimes that happens. But this time when it happened, the snake must have been ready, flat on ready. It bit right through the bag and bit me on the finger. Just ruined the whole day. It was my fault. And it wasn't a serious bite. I spent 24 hours in the hospital. Incidentally, that's, in my estimation, the safest thing to do is just get to a hospital if you're bitten. Don't cut, suck, tourniquet, and all that stuff. Just get to the hospital. That was the first time I was ever bitten, and you can bet it's going to be the last time. The coral snake is the most deadly poisonous snake in this country. Drop for drop, its venom is probably 2,000 times more toxic than any rattlesnake or copperhead or water moccasin that ever lived. This is an eastern coral snake. I caught this snake under an old wooden bridge a day or two ago. They like to hang out in places like that. Red, black, and yellow. Beautiful colors. It's difficult to see on a coral snake because its head is so small and such a dark color. But it's the only poison snake in this country that lacks the facial pits of the pit vipers. That's because it's not a pit viper. It's a member of the cobra family, the deadliest snakes in the world. But bites involving coral snake are very rare. It very seldom ever bites. Of course, its colors are red, black, and yellow. It can be identified by its black nose and the fact that a yellow band separates every color on its body. And towards the tail, the red bands disappear. There's no more, it's just black and yellow tail. It's primarily what we call nocturnal. It only seems to like to move after dark. And from those that we've captured, it seems like by the time the dew dries on the grass in the morning, most coral snakes are going to be back underground somewhere. Its nature is such that upon contact with a human being, it's going to try its best to get away. They're hard to catch because of that. And in capturing them, honest and truly, I've never yet seen one turn around to bite. Almost all the coral snake bites that ever have occurred because some dummy wanted to play with a pretty red, black, and yellow snake for hours sometimes before, sooner or later, it might start biting. Anywhere within the range, they could be found on almost any type of terrain. It doesn't seem to matter to them whether it's high ground or low ground. As a matter of fact, quite a few of my coral snakes have come from the same areas that rattlesnakes come from, the diamondbacks and gopher tortoise areas. Apparently, all they really require is an area where the sand is soft enough for them to burrow in. You know, they're one of the few snakes in the country that digs their own hole. They're a burrowing snake.
Now there's a pretty red, black, and yellow snake, but it's not a coral snake. It's a harmless scarlet king snake. You know the easiest way to identify the dangerous one, the coral snake? A coral snake's nose is black. If its nose is black, get back.
Sometimes right in your own backyard is a place to go snake hunting. Some of the snakes that live in the southeastern United States have adapted very well to civilization. And some of these snakes are venomous, like this copperhead. Copperhead is a very easy snake to identify. It's the only snake in the United States of America that has markings on its back that resemble the shape of an hourglass.
The copperhead's coloring makes it easy to see the typical pit viper features that it has. Notice the pupil of the eye. It's not big and round like those of non-poisonous snakes. The pupil of the pit viper is what we call vertically elliptical. The eye looks like a slit. And notice also midway between the eye and the nose is a deep hole. We call that a thermosensitive pit. Only pit vipers in this country have got thermosensitive pits. It's a heat-sensing device, not a heat-seeking device. The animal uses it in its search for food so he can tell whether the prey he is approaching is warm-blooded or cold-blooded.
During the warmer months of the year, this snake is primarily nocturnal. It does most of its feeding at night. It eats warm-blooded as well as cold-blooded prey. It likes mice better than anything. Its venom is very toxic to an animal like a mouse. It can kill a mouse very easily. But its venom is not near as toxic to humans as the other poisonous snakes in this country, and death is almost unheard of from the bite of a copperhead. This is Curly. Curly is probably the most notorious snake in all of the southeastern United States. This is one people have made up so many silly stories about. We call it an eastern coach whip. The story has it that this snake is going to grab people by the nose and pull them down the ground and whip them to death. They don't stop there. They tell you then he's going to take his tail, he's going to slide his tail up your nose to see if you're still breathing. I have never yet found a coach whip that was brave enough to hang around and try and whip somebody. The only reason we call it a coach whip is because that's what it looks like. It's a snake that just happens to look like a long braided whip. And that's the only reason, bless his little cold-blooded heart. Curly is the fastest snake in the country. One way we can tell if a snake is dangerous or not is to look at its eyes. All the snakes that live in this country that are not dangerous have got great big round eyes. See those big round brown eyes that Curly's got here? Another way we can tell is by looking at the underside of their tail. The underside of the tail of all the non-poisonous snakes that live in this country, those caudals, those scales, are divided after the anus. Of course, to see these features, you have to get mighty close to the snake if you're going to check the underside of its tail or check its eyes. And that's not recommended. That should be left up to the experts. Curly, you've been a good boy. We'll put you down on the ground. You go out there and you just be a happy snake, okay? Bye-bye. See you later, Curly. It's sad the way people feel about snakes, especially people that love the great outdoors. I think, first of all, people should realize that snakes are a part of it. Just like the butterflies, the Virginia white-tailed deer, the bass, the wild turkeys, everything. It's all part of it. They wouldn't be there if they weren't necessary, doing some kind of a job. In some cases, we don't even know what that job is, but they wouldn't be there if they weren't necessary. I think snakes are beautiful. I think all of our wild animals are beautiful. I think some snakes are more beautiful than others. Even a cottonmouth, to me, though, is beautiful, although it's a drab-colored snake. They're all beautiful.
Yeah. Poling my boat through the black mirror water, enjoying the sun and the sky. Living my dream the way a man oughta, happy with each day that goes by. And I know what it means to live off the land. To me it comes naturally. I'm wild as a mountain, untamed as the sea. The swamp is home to me, and I'm swamp wise. I can stalk a buck deer and take him by surprise. I can disappear right in front of your eyes with a knife and a blanket. I can survive. I'm swamp wise. Yeah, I'm swamp wise. Here in the land of the trembling earth, time moves easy and slow. A man can stay lost and gone forever and never ever care who knows. And I'm swamp wise. I can grab a bull gator and tan his ugly hide, move like a panther through the dark of the night, pull a boat to Fargo just for the ride. I'm swamp wise. Yeah, I'm swamp wise. Tell me I don't know how to live. Swamp wise. Crocodile Dundee ain't got nothing on me. Swamp wise. They call me Okefenokee Joe.